Welcome to the channel and welcome to this review of Chaos Battletome Disciples of Tzeentch that GW has very kindly sent me free of charge for your reviewing pleasure. So, what have we got? Okay, so I'm gonna flick through the book, going and calling out bits that I like, bit of an overview of the rules, bit of an overview of the War Scrolls, and much rejoicing. Okay, so as usual, I like to read out the bit on the first page, the flavour text. Love me a bit of flavour text. The change god Tzeentch is anarchy incarnate, a deity who revels in madness, mutation and unbound sorcery. Great swathes of the mortal realms have been remade in his image. Once pristine forests and glittering cities have been transformed into sanity-shredding wastelands, where the warped and tentacled abominations roam. Crystalline towers jut from the earth, and infernos of raw magic turn the skies into a kaleidoscope of vile colours. This is the fate that Tzeentch wishes to inflict upon all of reality. For his mortal disciples, Tzeentch covets men and women of ambition, those who desire power above all, and employ duplicitous means to achieve it. Schemes and machinations are the change god's delight, and he encourages such individuals with hushed wishbush and promised boons, ensnaring them in his own unimaginably complex plots, like puppets on a string. In an age of expansion and settlement, with the God King Sigmar's great Dawnbringer crusades crisscrossing the realms and founding strongholds atop sites of potent magical power, there are infinite possibilities for the Changer of Ways and his minions to bring about a storm of murderous mayhem. Gathering in the shadows of civilization, the disciples of Tzeentch work to bring about the collapse of order and destroy the tyranny of reason. They commit the vilest rituals of murder and desecration, reciting arcane phrases to summon forth demons from beyond the veil. When the time of the uprising dawns, the Arcanites surge from their hidden lairs, screaming praises to almighty Tzeentch as they hurl searing bolts of witch flame at their foes. Tearing their way into reality come the scintillating hosts of the Change God, cavorting, garishly coloured demons wreathed in raw magic, whose sudden arrival sets the very air aflame. To battle such a dreadful host is to challenge the inevitable, to set one's sword arm against fate itself. Those foolish enough to do so are likely to hear the demented cackling of Tzeentch in the back of their mind before they are immolated in a tide of coruscating flames. The God King's ignorant crusaders fail to grasp a simple truth: change is inevitable, and those who deny it condemn themselves to an eternity of madness and torment. Love a bit of madness and torment, it says here. So, what do we have? I mean, we've got some lovely dioramas. The sort of the scenery on which the models are stood have got lovely sort of writhing tentacles and eyes poking out of rockwork, and yeah, some really super stuff. Now we've got some blurb about the agents of anarchy, the servants of Tzeentch wreaking anarchy in the mortal realms. Fairly standard stuff. Then we've got a lovely piece of art, which is, it looks like, is this in the realm of chaos? I don't know, but it's a Tzeentch. Is it all demon? No, there are some mortal followers here. This is Tzeentch versus Nurgle, and there are swooping screamers flying through the skies, cities with I'll say cities, an outcropping of thrice blighted Nurgle, great unclean ones towering above hordes of plague bearers, with massive arcane gates opening and lords of change pouring through, throwing arcane bolts at the demons. what they called, the Blight Kings are being utterly mobbed by horrors and pulled down, and there's fire flickering all over the place. It's a very cool. But if I could get that as a print, I'd totally have that on my wall. I wonder if they do that as a print. Something to check. Then we've got a bit about eternal rivalry and of the various four chaos powers and the nature of fate. The Children of Change being about the demon servants of Tzeentch. Then there's a big bit about, I say a big bit, we've got how many pages? We've got a double page on Tzeentch's wars in Chamon, the realm of metal. A bit of artwork against Caradron overlords. I've listened to a couple of Caradron books recently, and I am absolutely loving those. Oh dear. I digress. Then we've got a nice map of, a lovely map of the Spiral Crux. Now, is this Chamon? Yes, it is in Chamon, and the various different sites of the Tzeentchian incursions. Yeah, it's cool stuff. Then we've got the usual little vignettes from the Age of Myth, the Age of Chaos, and then from the Age of Sigmar. Then we have, and this is something I like this a lot, we have an organisation structure around a typical Arcanite cult, with Magistars, Zangor Shamans and Fate Masters being the Arcanite Cabal. Honoured guests are the Gaunt Summoners. Henchmen are Curselings and Ogroid Thaumaturges. Then there are different covens, each with 3 sects. So a Witchfire coven is Kaeric Acolytes and Zangor Enlightened. Two Acolytes, one Enlightened. Witchfire covens are formed of Kaeric Acolytes who demonstrate an aptitude for the conjuring of fires of change, together with a Zangor Enlightened escort. Altar Kin covens, 3 sects, Kaeric Acolytes, Zangors and Zangor Skyfires. Altar Kin covens are masters of mutating magic. To stand within the aura of change that surrounds them is to risk an agonizing transformation. And Sky Shoal covens, 3 sects, Zangor Skyfires, and Zangor Enlightened. The Zangors that form covens with the Enlightened and Skyfires fight with heightened ferocity, eager to prove themselves before their elevated kin. I love things like this, because this to me is how to build your narrative army. I could take this page and go, right, I want that, and I've got a Witchfire coven, an African coven, and a Skyhole coven, and I've got my Acolytes and my Henchmen, and boom, army done, planned. Buy army, pay to unit, the rest sits on a shelf for 5 years. That's my process. Then we've got different hosts. I think this follows the same pattern as the other books, and by other books I mean the Maggotkin of Nurgle, because Hedonites of Slaanesh and Blades of Khorne are not 3rd ed books yet. So there are it can be a demon host or it can be a mortal coven. So we've got either a scintillating host or a hidden change cult, and depending on which one you pick when we get to rules, has different rules. It's kind of picking the leaning of your army, whether it's a demonic force or whether it's a mortal force, and it sort of helps. I like that. I like sort of going, right, are these, what's the driving force here? Is it a coven? Is it this? Is it that? Is it the other? Personally, I like to build up the mortal army and have the demons as things to summon in, and then you can build them up over time, and then when you've got enough, you can use them as a force in their own right. Anyway, so we've got 4 hosts. Now I assume there are rules to match all of these. Let me just check that before we go any further. rules to... there only seem to be rules to match 6 of them. Not all of them. That's interesting. Okay, so the ones you can pick for the demon hosts, there's the Eternal Conflagration. The Eternal Conflagration desires one thing above all, to engulf the mortal realms in an inferno of weird flame, and watch in gleeful amusement as the world burns around them. Oh yes, oh yes. Then the host Duplicitous. An impenetrable veil of illusion hangs over the host Duplicitous, for these demons believe that deception and deceit are to be the highest arts of all. Then there's the Unbound Flux, but there's no rules for the Unbound Flux. It's peculiar. Then the Host Arcanum. Host's Arcanum. All demons of Tzeentch are formed from pure magic, but those of the Host's Arcanum are preeminent spellcasters, even amongst their own kind. Da, da, da. Right, and let me get the ones of these to read out as well, because I'm not going to read out the ones that don't have rules, because that's like it's like when you're in a restaurant and you ask for something on the menu and they go, oh no, that's off. You're like, well, why on the menu then if it's off? You're getting my hopes up. Okay, so it's these 3. So we're on to hidden change cults. The Cult of the Transient Form. Above all else, the Cult of the Transient Form worships the unbound power of change. Sorry, I thought it said carnage then. I can't read. Change. The Profane Cult. The Profane Cult revels in the destructive change for its own sake. And the Guild of Summoners. The art of demonology is one that only the boldest or least sane of mortals would seek to master. For to deal with the malign entities that dwell within the realm of chaos is to bargain away one's very soul. True that. Then we've got a big page and some nice artwork on Lords of Change, a footnote about Fate Weaver, then the Favoured of Tzeentch, so there's a bit about each of the Tzeentch demon heroes, and the Demons of Flame and Madness. Then we've got a bit of flavour text, this is all flavour text, about the various types of demons. Oh, and some cool artwork. That's sort of different cartoon-esque type style. That's cool. Then the Champions of Anarchy. So these are the mortals. You've got Magistars, Fate Masters, Curselings, Omegroid, Thaumaturges, Gaunt Summoners, Keric Acolytes, Zangors, and their various subtypes, Enlightened, Skyfires, Shamans. Then we're on to dioramas of models. And they're just so pretty. I mean, they've got a kind of sort of pink and blue lighting on this, but it's coming from different directions, so it's backlighting different parts of the scenery, and it looks so Tzeentchian. It's really cool. There we've got one against the Hammers of Sigmar in a sort of I would say it's Gur, because it's using the Gur strong point scenery. But this is sort of bathed with golden light. It's very nice. It's very cool. Then we've got a lovely little sort of diorama of the Changeling in what looks like a sort of library. No enemies, a library and a portal. Which, I'll tell you what the portal is. It's a plastic crater, and it looks like what they've done is they've filled the crater with resin, and then they've blown bubbles into it and popped the bubbles when it's been relatively solid, so it forms sort of little pocks and craters, and it looks like a sort of weird wibbly portal. It's very cool because they've got it up on its side. That's very cool. Then we've got some demon versus Orruk action, and demons. Oh, then there's the Eyes of the Nine, and they're surrounded on all sides by zombies. That's kind of cool, like a sort of dungeon crawl type setting. Oh, we've got some Caradron action. Nice shiny Sky Dwarden being attacked by screamers and skimmers and all sorts of stuff. Then we've got another diorama of everything that burns. This is Brimstone Horrors and Flamers and Exalted Flamers, all against Daughters of Cain. The what are they called? What are they called? The snaky ones. No, it doesn't say. I can't remember. This one looks like Lumineth Realm Lords. That's pretty cool. Some nicely painted examples of Zangor and demons. There's one against Nighthaunts. A very nicely backlit one. Yeah, the pictures on here are very cool. There's lots of nice... These look like they're taken right out of stories, and there's lots of nice inspiration, certainly from my perspective. There's another Realm Lord one here. That's a nice big one. Then we've got Painting Guide. So we've got I'm hesitating because I'm not sure if these are what they called contrast ones. How new these are? I think they're contrast. Yes, they must be, because this one's talking about thinning with contrast medium. We've got painting guides for Brimstone Horrors, Pink Horrors, and Blue Horrors. Yes, and these all must be contrast, and they must be some of the newer contrast as well, because they're talking about Corax White undercoat. Corax White is the new one, isn't it? It's not White Sky. I get them mixed up. Then some details, how to do details on Screamers. The Gaunt Summoner, how to paint his skin and his cloak. It basically just looks like a Gaunt Summoner page. Zangors. It's a contrast version for Zangors. This could be quite handy. Apply a 1 to 4 mix of Ultramarines Blue and contrast medium over Grey Seer base coat. And layer with Fenrisian Grey. I wonder if you could dry brush it instead. And a fine highlight of Orthron Grey. Then paint the feathers using Screamer Pink, Ungor Flesh and Squig Orange. Okay, 3 colours just on the feathers. They're not going to be super quick to do. Then we've got painting the discs of Tzeentch and Zangor details. Acolyte Light Skin. Gilliman Flesh over a Grey Seer base coat. A layer of Rakarth Flesh over the raised areas. And highlights of Pallid Witch Flesh. Oh, Acolyte Light Skin. There's also Acolyte Dark Skin. Catachan Flesh Tone, Blood Reaver Flesh, Night Questor Flesh, and then highlights of Cajun Flesh Tone. Then how to paint the white cloth and the bases. Oh, Tzeentchian basing. Okay, this is cool. So they've sort of got like sort of magical bases type things. So base coat with lead belcher and apply Gore-Grunt of Fur in a random pattern. Once dry, apply a thick coat of Mordant Earth. Dry brush with Dark Reaper and Russ Grey. That gives a sort of blue cracked magical type look. That's pretty cool. Then different schemes for different types of shields. We've got sort of a golden blue, a golden green, a reversed black and gold, and then a golden white. They all look pretty cool. Okay, now we're into the rules. So, quick pause for refreshment. Thirsty. All the talking is thirsty. Okay, so battle traits. Arcane Armies. This one's quite cool. In the first battle round, after you've got your command points, but before the start of the first term, you can pick a Disciples of Tzeentch wizard, and that wizard automatically casts. Basically, if you've got an endless spell, it's one of those. It lets you cast an endless spell and have it up at the start of turn 1. It can't be unbound. It can't be dispelled for the first battle round. So you basically just put it down. So then we've got... And I had a look at some of those endless spells, and a lot of them, I seem to remember certainly one of them is one that provides you buffs, and obviously you have to wait a turn before you can use it. So this is basically letting you have it ready summoned because, you know, Tzeentch. Masters of Destiny is a nice rule. Now, for those who play 40k and are familiar with the Eldar having their dice at the start of every turn, it's a similar mechanic, but it is not broken AF like the Eldar one is. This is kind of cool. So at the end of deployment, you roll 9 dice. So each is number. They're your Destiny dice. And at any point during the battle, you can use those dice to... You can change one of those dice for a dice roll. You can say, I'm not going to roll the dice for this one. I'm going to just use one of my dice from over here. The rolls that have been replaced count as unmodified rolls and cannot be re-rolled. And then Destiny dice, there's a specific list of things you can do. You can use it for: casting, unbinding, dispelling, run, charge, hit, wound, save rolls, but you must still modify the dice by the rend characteristic. Damage characteristic rolls or battle shock rolls. Again, you must still modify the roll by the number of slain models from the unit. There are some things you get later on that let you either change those or add to those or replace those, but there's not a huge number. You can't just keep filling it up and up and up and up and up. It's a finite amount that you can use at various points during the game, and it's that nice little twist, that sort of Destiny is being nudged, which I like. Locus of Change. Subtract 1 from hit rolls for attacks made with melee weapons that target Disciples of Tzeentch demons whilst they are wholly within 12 inches of a Tzeentch demon hero. The miasma of instability that follows the minions of the Great Conspirator can send even the most focused warriors insane, the deceit of their own eyes rendering any martial skill useless. Keep your demons near your demon heroes and they're harder to hit. Then there's the change covens rule. So you get your special, your sub-faction rules, which we'll come on to in a bit. Then summoning demons of Tzeentch. So you can summon a Disciples of Tzeentch demon unit onto the battlefield if you have enough fate points. Each time a casting roll is successful and the spell is not unbound, you receive 1 fate point. That also applies for your enemy wizards casting spells. But so many things in this book are wizards, you'll be getting loads of these. If you have any fate points at the end of your movement phase, you can summon 1 unit from the list for a number of fate points. You've got to set them up more than 9 inches from enemy units and wholly within 9 inches of one of your heroes. So, Lord of Change, 30. Fate Skimmer, Herald of Tzeentch on a Burning Chariot, 24. 10 Pink Horrors, 20. Burning Chariot, 18. 3 Flamers, 18. Change Caster, 12. Exalted Flamer, 12. Flux Master on a disc, 12. 10 Blue Horrors, 10. 10 Brimstone Horrors, 10. 3 Screamers, 10. Then you've got the standard Legions of Chaos, effectively coalition units. 2 in every 4 units can be Slaves to Darkness, as long as they have the Tzeentch keyword, the Mark of Tzeentch. And 1 in every 4 units can be a unit from Beastmen, as long as they have the Tzeentch keyword. So in theory, if you've got 4 units, you can do 2 from Slaves to Darkness, 1 from Beastmen, and only you need to have 1 from Disciples of Tzeentch for it to be a Tzeentch army. So if you already have either of those armies, you can grow this quite quickly by just adding in some of these units to those units whilst you're building this up. Disciples of Tzeentch army cannot include coalition units with the Khorne or Nurgle keyword, but they get on fine with Slaanesh. Transformed to Spawn. This is the last of the army generic rules. If a model is transformed into a spawn, and there's quite a lot of those, You can add one Tzeentch Chaos Spawn unit that has one model to your army. Set it up within 1 inch of the model that's been transformed, and then remove the transformed model from play. Designer's note. This is where it's interesting, and I'm not quite sure who this benefits, but it's interesting. A transformed model does not count as a slain model for the purposes of the Battle Shock rules. Kind of feels like it should. And cannot be returned if you're allowed to bring back slain models. The model has not been slain. Sounds about right. In addition, if your general is transformed to a spawn, that spawn becomes your general and cannot issue commands. That is a bit... Sir, you've got very tentacly and... what was that? No, I didn't understand. And you're eating your horse. You keep him talking, I'll go get help. So I'm not sure about that. Presumably there's some game mechanic that's presumably something that's come up in playtesting, but I don't know. Anyway. So, enhancements. Command traits. So you've got mortal ones and demon ones. There's quite a few of these. Mortal ones. Arch Sorcerer. Wizard knows 2 extra spells. Nexus of Fate. If your general's on the battlefield, you can roll a dice and replace one of your destiny dice with a roll. Not add to the pool, but replace one. Cult Demonog. Wizards only. If the casting roll for this general is a double, then the casting attempt is successful and cannot be unbound. In addition, you receive 2 fate points instead of 1. That'll get a lot of use. Arcane Sacrifice. Wizards only. At the start of your hero phase, you can cause a mortal wound to a friendly Tzeentch unit within 3 inches. If you do so until the end of that phase, add 9 inches to the range of all spells successfully cast by this general. I can see that getting a lot of use. Soul Burn. For a modified hit roll for an attack made by a melee weapon by this general is 6, the attack causes 1 mortal wound in addition to any other damage. Illusionist. -1 to hit the general. So they're your mortal ones. Now your demon ones. Arch Sorcerer. Wizard knows 2 extra spells from the Law of Change. Demon Spark. Once per battle in your hero phase, you can use your Demon Spark. You immediately gain 3 fate points. More demons. Nexus of Fate. At the start of your hero phase, you can roll a dice and replace one of your destiny dice with that roll. Incorporeal Form. Each time your general is affected by a spell or the ability of an endless spell, you can roll a dice. On a 5+, ignore the effect of that spell or the effects of that endless spell's ability on this general. Ignore spells on a 5+. Right, now we come to Artifacts of Power. So the mortal ones. Changeblade. Pick a melee weapon. If you slay a hero with it, they are transformed into a spawn instead of being slain. Time Slip Pendant. Once per battle, after you've fought for the first time, you can fight again at the end of the phase. Demon Heart. Once per battle, pick an enemy at the end of the combat phase within 1 inch. That unit suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the current battle round. Through a dark ritual, the heart of a demon dwells within the bearer's chest, where its dread power can be unleashed to greatly augment the strength of its host. Ambition's End. Once per battle, start your hero phase, pick an enemy wizard within 1 inch of the bearer. That wizard suffers a number of mortal wounds equal to the current battle round, and that wizard cannot attempt to bind spells until your next hero phase. Many a sorcerer's quest to master the magical arts has ended upon this weapon's blade, for it spills not only blood, but knowledge itself. Secret Eater. Pick just stuffing dairy milk in your mouth in a cupboard. No one can see me. Pick one of the bearer's weapons. If the unmodified hit roll is a 6 and you have fewer than 9 destiny dice, you can roll a dice and add it to your destiny dice. So if you've got a fighty general or character, that's pretty good for some more destiny dice. Spiteful Shield. If your modified save roll is a 6, the attacking unit suffers 2 mortal wounds. In melee. Nice. Now the demon treasures, demonic treasures, the artifacts for the demon heroes. Warp Fireblade. Pick a weapon on a 6 to hit, does 2 mortal wounds in addition to any of the damage. Blade of Fate. Once per battle, if your modified hit roll for an attack with a weapon is 6, you can replace one of your destiny dice with that roll. So you can, if you're hitting on a 3 and you roll a 6, you can go, right, well that 6 can go, I'll swap one of my destiny dice. Oh, I've got a 4 here, I'd rather have a 6 instead. Boop, boop. So your roll is then a 4, which of course is still a hit, but you've sort of stashed the good luck for later. Pyrophane Stave. Pick one of the bearer's melee weapons. If any wounds inflicted by the weapon are allocated to an enemy wizard and that model is not slain, the wizard cannot unbind spells for the rest of the battle. Yowzers. That must sting a bit. Beacon of Mutability. I'd want a wound rolls for attacks made with melee weapons by demons who are wholly within 9 inches of the bearer. The Nine-Eyed Tome. You can reroll casting, dispelling and unbinding rolls. The Eternal Shroud. Every time you use a destiny dice, roll a dice. On a 5+, you may roll another dice and add it to your destiny dice. So, farming destiny dice. Right, now we're on to spell laws. Still thirsty. It's all the talking. So the Law of Fate. These are for the Mortal and Arcanite Wizards. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spells. Arcane Suggestion. Range 8. Casting 8, 18 inch range. Pick an enemy unit and pick one of the following effects. It's hopeless. Unit cannot issue or receive commands to the next hero phase. Drop your weapons. Subtract 1 from hit and wound rolls to the next hero phase. Kneel. Subtract 1 from save rolls to your next hero phase. Shield of Fate. Casting value of 6, range of 18. Pick a friendly Tzeentch unit. And they get a ward save based on how many destiny dice you have left. Short version. If you've got 1 to 3, you have a ward save of 6. If you've got 4 to 6, you have a ward save of 5. On a 7 to 9, you've got a ward save of 5 and the ability to shrug. The ability to shrug damage from spells. Right. Glimpse the Future. Spell that has a casting value of 7. If successfully cast, if you have fewer than 9 destiny dice, you can roll the dice and add it to your destiny dice. So it's a destiny dice generator. Infusion Arcanum. Casting value of 5. Add 1 to hit and wound rolls made by the caster until your next hero phase. So again, if you've got a fighty character, that's kind of good. Treacherous Bond. Casting value of 5, range of 9. Pick a mortal unit within range invisible. While the unit's within 9 inches of the caster, you can pass wounds off onto that unit. And then Bolt of Tzeentch. Casting value of 7, range of 18, D6 mortal wounds. Now, there's a footnote here saying that Bolt of Tzeentch is in both the Law of Fate and the Law of Change, but you still can't cast it more than once per turn, even though it's in both laws. I know that's a rule that's baked into the core mechanic. It's not a rule I adhere to in my games, but that said, you wouldn't want every wizard on the battlefield having that, because it would just make the game pointless. Utterly pointless. So there has to be an element of common sense in the ignoring of those rules. Right, Law of Change. So these are the ones for the demons. Treason of Tzeentch. Casting on a 7, range of 18. Pick an enemy unit that's got 2 or more models. Roll a number of dice equal to the number of models. For each 6, they suffer a mortal wound. In addition, subtract 1 from hit rolls made by that unit until your next hero phase. Tzeentch delights in sowing treachery and deceit, and many of his demonic sorcerers can channel the aspect of their master's power to set brother upon brother. Nice. Unchecked Mutation. Casting 6, range 18. Pick a unit, suffers D3 mortal wounds. If a model dies on a 3+, suffers an additional D3 mortal wounds. Very similar to Eldar Executioner, that one. Obviously, 40k reference. Fold Reality. Casting 7, range 18. Pick a demon unit. Roll a dice. On a 1, reality collapses in on itself and the unit is destroyed. Ouch! And because that's not one of the specific dice types listed in the Destiny list, you can't use your Destiny dice to fiddle that. On a 2+, you can return a number of slain models equal to that roll to the unit. So you've got 2 left. Pick a unit. Pick 1 friendly unit. Okay, so if you've got a demon unit with like 1 left in it, what you got to lose? Oh, my flamers have got 1 left. Nah, I might lose it. I might not. Ding. Okay, D6 come back. Ho-ho. Tzeentch's Firestorm. Casting value 8, range of 12. Pick an enemy unit within range. Roll 9 dice. For each 6, the unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. Potentially devastating. And then Bolt of Tzeentch, which is the same as the other Bolt of Tzeentch. It's a D6 mortal wounds. Quackoom. Then we're on to the Change Covens. The Eternal Conflagration. Twisters of Materiality. Improve the rend characteristic of the unit's Warp Flame, Billowing Warp Flame and Magical Flames missile weapons by 1. Nasty. The Host Duplicitous. Ranks of Mischievous Mirages. Enemy units within 3 inches of the Host Duplicitous unit with 10 or more models cannot retreat. In addition, once per battle, when a unit of horrors is destroyed, you can roll a dice. On a 4+, add a unit of horrors with 5 models to your army. Set it up within 12 inches of a friendly hero and more than 9 inches from enemy units. Jibber jibber. And the Host Arcanum. Thieves of all things arcane. Once per turn, in the 1st, 3rd and 5th battle rounds, when a friendly Host Arcanum wizard attempts to unbind a spell, you can choose for that spell to be automatically unbound. Woo! Your magic... No, just your magic just doesn't happen. 1st, 3rd and 5th battle rounds. Tzeentch says no. Right, so the mortal ones. The Cult of the Transient Form. The Change Gift. Roll a dice each time a friendly Carrick Acolyte model is slain. On a 2 to 5 before removing it, it can fight. On a 6 before removing it, you can add a Zangor to a friendly Zangor host within 9 inches of the slain model. Nice. The Cult of the Transient Form is known for its host of avian beastmen, warriors whose natural arrogance is justified by their skill at arms. Many of these were once men and women, for the acolytes of this cult want nothing more than to transform into Zangors and be closer to their god, even amidst a raging battle. Okay. The Pyrophane Cult. Arrows of Tzeentch. Add 1 to hit rolls for sorcerous bolts by friendly Carrick Acolyte units. If you've done any damage to a unit in the shooting phase, roll a dice. On a 5+, they take D3 mortal wounds. And the Guild of Summoners, Scions of the Exiled. Your fate points can only be... Oh, I remember this now. So, secretive and sly, the Guild of Summoners specialise in the conjuration of demons, lords of change above all. Their goal is to bring into being no fewer than 9 of Tzeentch's greater demons at once, and in doing so achieve supremacy over reality. By the time they realise they are the slaves and not the masters, it will be too late. So, Scions of the Exiled. If it's this army, your fate points can only be used to summon Lord of Change units. Instead of the fate cost of 30, a Lord of Change unit costs 9 points to summon for the first time, and then 18 points thereafter for the rest of the battle. But then, of course, you've got all those Lords of Change coming out. They'll be casting more spells, summoning more Lords of Change. I mean, it's tempting to go out and buy 9 Lords of Change if that's what if that's So then we've got the Path to Glory stuff, which regular viewers will know I don't go through. Oh, there are a couple of battle plans. Let's look at the battle plans. Magnemantic Ritual. The Magnemantic Ritual is nearly complete, but enemies have gathered to try and bring it to a halt. Aerial Quest Battle Plan. So what's this? 1 army is the Ritualist, 1 is the Usurper. The Ritualist cannot choose a monster to be its general. The territories is horizontal, it's 50-50, it's halfway across the board for each. Objectives. The players roll off and set up 4 objective markers, starting with the winner of the roll-off. Must be placed within 3 inches of a terrain feature and more than 9 inches from all other ritual sites. There's some rules around reserves. Oh, okay, so the Ritualist is looking for their general, and you have to search the ritual sites to find your general. Okay. The Ritualist wins a major victory if the general is not slain. The Usurper wins a major victory if the general is slain in the first or second battle round. Okay, so this is a battle all around trying to summon a demon general, and the other side trying to kill it. It looks a little bit complex. It's going to take a little bit of reading to get that spot on right, so I'm not going to do that now. The Pursuit. High above the mortal realms, a small aerial battle force faces a foe of overwhelming power. The weaker force must escape before it's destroyed. So we've got a pursuit edge and an escape edge on the battlefield. Game length of 4 turns. At the start of the quarry's movement phase, any units that are within 8 inches of the escape edge and not within 3 inches of any enemy units are said to have escaped and removed from play. If all the quarry's units have escaped, it's a major victory. If all the quarry's units were destroyed, it's a major victory for the opposition. Then we're on degrees of... Yeah, it's a get off the table edge. And it looks like from the picture it's meant to be sort of styled as a Caradron versus Tzeentch type hunt. That's pretty cool. Then we've got the what they're called, the battalion war scroll battalions. These are the demon ones. The Overseer's Fate Twisters. 1 Lord of Change and 8 disciples from a list of demon heroes. The Warp Flame Host, 1 Exalted Flamer and 3 to 8 flamey units from a list. The Change Host, 1 Lord of Change, 8 disciples heroes from a list of Exalted Flamers, Horrors, Flamers, Screamers. And the Multitudinous Host, 1 Change Caster, 8 units of Horrors. The Ether Eater Host, 1 Fate Skimmer, Herald of Tzeentch on a Burning Chariot. 8 units from a big list. Blue Scribes, Fate Skimmer, Herald, Fluxmaster. So if you got one of these War Scrolls, the ability you get is the Storm of Demonic Fire. At the end of the charge phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 9 inches of any units from this battalion. On a 6, that enemy unit suffers D3 mortal wounds. So it's a bit of extra random mortal wound output. Then we've got the Arcanite Cult. These are a little bit... they look a little bit simpler. Possibly just because the names are shorter. The Arcanite Cabal. 3 to 9 Fate Masters, Magistars or Zangor Shamans. The Altar Kin Coven. Carrick Acolyte Host, Zangor Host, Zangor Skyfires units. So these pretty much match the narrative one we read out earlier, so I won't go through those. Boon of Mutation. At the end of the charge phase, roll a dice for each enemy unit within 3 inches. On a 6, they suffer D3 mortal wounds, and this lets you add units to Zangors. Turn them to Zangors. Then there's a bit of match play stuff I'm not going to go through. Then we're on to the War Scrolls. So, again, I'm not going to go through all of them. I'm just going to pick out a few highlights, I think. Lord of Change is a wizard, knows 2 spells, can cast 2 and dispel 2, but I'm sure I saw he had a rule where he knows all the... Yeah, Beacon of Sorcery. Add 1 to casting rolls, dispelling rolls, and unbinding rolls for all Tzeentch wizards within 18 inches. In addition, this unit knows all the spells from the Law of Change. So they know all of them and can cast 2. Rod of Sorcery is a 2d6 ranged attack. And the melee weapons, Staff of Tzeentch, Baleful Sword, Curved Beacon, Wicked Talons are nice, but they're only okay. They're not sort of big beastie ones, but you wouldn't expect that. This guy's main shtick is magic. Spell Thief has an ability to steal spells from other wizards so they can cast them. When you are casting, unbinding, or dispelling, this is the Mastery of Magic rule, you can change the lowest dice to match the highest dice. Oh, it's a 7 and it's a 5 and a 1. Oh no, it's not. It's 2 5s. Then Infernal Gateway. Casting a 7, range of 18. Pick a unit. Roll 9 dice. Suffers a mortal wound for each roll that is equal to or greater than the Infernal Gateway value shown on the caster's table, which depends how damaged it is, and it ranges from 3+ to 6+. Then we have Chaos Spawn. Wounds of 5, 5+ save, 2d6 move. Freakish Mutations, 2d6 attacks, 4+4+ dash, 1 damage. Spawn of Sorcery, heal all the wounds. Sorry, got interrupted there by, but you can't quite see her. The cat is right here. She's right here. This little. Go on, just stick your ears up. No. I mean, trust me, she's right. There you go. There's an ear. Anyway, okay. So I was on the Lord of Change. The Lord of Change specific spell is called Infernal Gateway. It's a damaging spell. It's mortal wounds output. Yeah. Lord of Change. We weren't to the Lord of Change. We were talking about Chaos Spawn. I just looked across and gone, Chaos Spawn. If a wizard casts a spell within 9 inches of a Chaos Spawn, it heals all wounds. Nice! If the unmodified hit roll for the Freakish Mutations is a 6, the target suffers 1 mortal wound. Okay, so they're not gross, but they're cool. They're cool. Change Caster, I'm going to come on to. So it has an innate missile attack. It's magical flames. 18-inch range, 3 attacks, 4+4 +(-1). Cast 1, unbind 1. Once per battle, using the Arcane Tome, you can reroll 1 casting roll for the unit and add 3 to the new roll. And Pink Fire of Tzeentch is the Changecaster's spell. Casting value 7, range of 18. Pick an enemy unit, subtract 1 from save rolls for your target. As Warp Flame engulf the foe, making them vulnerable to enemy attacks. Right, now we have the horrors of Tzeentch. There are what I think are some changes on here that are subtle but significant. So, first off, all the horrors in the unit have 1 profile. 1 wound with a 6-up save. Magical Flames and Taloned Hands have 1 profile that apply to all of the horrors, all the types of horror. It's a 12-inch range. The number of attacks varies per by which horror it is. It's a 5+ to hit, a 4+ to wound, no rend, 1 damage. The melee weapons, the number of attacks vary. 4+4 no rend. So pink horrors have 3 attacks with their magical flames and 1 attack with the taloned hands. Blue horrors, 2 with magical flames, 1 with the taloned hands. And brimstones have 1 with the magical flames but 2 with the taloned hands. As per the previous book, when you as per the previous rule, because I'm thinking now, I'm looking at it on the app, so I don't know what book it's from exactly. It could be from a supplement, but you pick at the start of the battle either split and split again or petty vengeance. So you use petty vengeance if you haven't got blue horrors or brimstone horrors. Oh, okay. No, I don't think this has changed. I've missed this bit. So you cannot allocate wounds or mortal wounds to a blue horror if it includes a pink horror, and you cannot allocate wounds to a brimstone horror if it includes a blue horror. So with split and split again, if you start with 10 pink horrors, you've got to go through all the blue. You've got to kill all the pink horrors, giving you 20 blue horrors before you can kill a blue horror. I think I'm reading that right. And then you've got to kill all the blues before you kill any of the brimstones, meaning a single unit of 10 pinks has 10, then 20, so 20, 30, has 40 wounds and is 250 points. But or if the unit contains no pink horrors, it costs 150. And if so, you can take a unit of 10 blue horrors for 150 points, and you can give them split and split again, and they will split into brims. Or you can take a unit of brimstone horrors. If it contains no pink and no blue, i.e. only brimstone horrors, then the cost is 125. So split and split again is pink horror dies, you replace it with 2 blue horrors instead. When a blue horror dies, you replace it with 1 brimstone horror. Now there are 2 little tiny brimstone horror models on the base, but it counts as 1 model for rules purposes because they're itty bitty bitty tiny. They've basically got like half a wound each and half an attack each and stuff. Then some specific notes on adding and removing the horrors. Or you can use Petty Vengeance, which when a model from the unit is slain, you can pick an enemy unit within 1 inch and roll a dice. If the roll is equal to the Petty Vengeance roll, then the enemy unit takes a mortal wound. So for blue horrors, that's 4+, 5+ for... Sorry, pink horrors is 4+, 5+ for blue, 6+ for brimstone. I'm sure some match play folks would tell you what the optimal configuration is for the best value for points and stuff. Nah, I don't care. Yeah. Okay, so that's Blue Horrors. Screamers. 3 wounds, 5 up save, 16-inch move, Lamprey Bite, 1-inch range, 3 attacks, 3+3 plus -1, 1 damage, and can do mortal wounds to models that it moves over. Not great, but not terrible. Flamers of Tzeentch, 2 wounds each, 4+ save, 3 attacks at an 18-inch range for Warp Flame, 3+ to hit, 4+ to wound, D3 damage. Oh! Then in melee, Flaming Maws, 3 attacks, 3+4+ -1. Add 1 to hit rolls made with Warp Flames or Flaming Maws if the target unit has 5 or more models. They're bathing the area in flame, they're more likely to hit a dense crowd. Makes perfect sense. Guided by Billowing Flames. Add 1 to the attack characteristic of the Warp Flame whilst it's wholly within any Exalted Flamers or any friendly Burning Chariots. Okay, so they get more flamey when they're stood near big flamey things. Good. Curseling, the Eye of Tzeentch. 5 wounds, 3+ save. Hurled Arcane Energy. D6 attacks, 18-inch range, 3+3 plus -1. Melee weapons. Blazing Sword. 4 attacks, 3+ to hit, 3+ to wound, -1, 2 damage. Or the Staff of Tzeentch. 1-inch range, D6 attacks, 4+4 -1. Wizard that can cast 2 and unbind 2. Disruptor of the Arcane can re-roll unbinding and dispelling rolls. Vessel of Chaos. If this unit successfully casts a spell, it can immediately attempt to cast the Glean magic spell, even if the spell is successfully cast, it cannot be unbound. Basically, you can try and if you unbind an enemy spell, you can try and learn it. Basically. What else have we got? The Ogoroid Thermatorge. 8 wounds, 4+ save. Some tasty close combat. Great Horns, 2 attacks, 3+3 plus -2, 3 damage. Nice. A couple of other little weapons. 1 spell. Berserk Rage. Add 1 to hidden wound rolls. If any wounds or mortal wounds were allocated to this unit earlier in the phase. So if you hit it, it gets angrier. Cloaking Tendrils. Casting 7, range of 18. Pick an enemy unit, suffers D6 mortal wounds for every slain model. You can heal 1 wound allocated to the caster. Nice. Zangor Shaman. It's a cast 1. Sorceress Elixir. Once per battle, you can attempt to cast 1 extra spell and add 3 to the casting roll. Boon of Mutation. Oh, it's a mortal wounds output that creates Zangors. Nice. Then Zangors themselves. 2 wounds. Nice. 5+ save. Savage Greatblade. 1 attack. 4+3 plus -1, 2. Savage Blade. 2 attacks. 4+3 plus -1. Pair of Vicious Blades. 3 attacks. 3+3 plus -1. Vicious Beak. 1 attack. 4+3 So each model has a Vicious Beak and one of the following weapon options. One of those weapon options. 1 in every 5 can be a Could be armed with a pair of savage blades. Savagery unleashed. Add 1 to the attack characteristic of this unit's vicious beaks if it made a charge. Ornate totems. Start your hero phase. Pick an enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit and roll a dice for each wizard within 9 inches of that unit. For each 4+, they suffer a mortal wound. Carrick Acolytes. So they all have Sorcerer's Bolts. 18 inch, 1 attack, 4+3+-1. And a combination of various melee weapons. A Volkark. 1 in every 10 models can be a Volkark. If an enemy wizard is within 18 inches, roll a dice. On a 4+, that wizard suffers a mortal wound when they cast a spell. Arcanet's Shield gives a ward save of 6+. Gestalt Sorcery is a spell. Oh, so this is a wizard, whilst it's got 9 or more models. If you cast Pick a Friendly, Kayla. Improve the rend of this unit, basically, or another unit. Then we're on to Endless Spells. The one that's really interesting, I think, is the Tome of Eyes. It needs to stay within an inch of the model that summoned it. You can re-roll casting rolls for the model that summoned the Endless Spell whilst it's on the battlefield. And Parchment Curse is a spell that's known by a model that summons this spell, so it gives you an extra spell. It's got an 8-inch casting value of 8, 18-inch range. Pick an enemy unit within range. On a 3+, suffers D3 mortal wounds. And for every mortal wound suffered, it reduces the bravery characteristic of the model of the unit for the rest of the battle. The Burning Sigil of Tzeentch has the potential to do mortal wounds to units within 9 inches, which can potentially turn them into Chaos Spawn. And the Demonic Simulacrum is a predatory endless spell. Then we come on to the profiles. See what there is to call out. Carrick Acolytes are 120 for 10. Zangors 175. Lord of Change is 400. As I mentioned earlier, Horrors are 250, but that's 40 wounds for 250. It's a lot of wounds. Screamers of Tzeentch, a battle line and a host Arcanum army. Flamers, a battle line and an Eternal Conflagration army. That makes sense. Burning Chariots of Tzeentch are battle line if the general is a Fate Skimmer, Herald of Tzeentch on a Burning Chariot. So if you're chasing down the Caradron, you can have the chariots as your battle line, and so everything you can do an all-flying army fighting the Caradron. Oh yes, like that. And last but by no means least, allies. Okay. Hedonites of Tzeentch can be allies. Slaves to Darkness can be allies. Now, Slaves to Darkness can be taken as coalition units, but the allies Slaves to Darkness, excluding units that can or must be given a Mark of Chaos. So I guess units that can be given a Mark of Chaos have to be given a Tzeentch Mark of Chaos. That makes them a coalition unit rather than an ally. But you can take markless units as allies. Okay? So there we go. That, I like that. That sort of feels like a nice blend of huge amounts of wizardry and arcaneness, as well as random duplicity and a bit of manipulation, but without having housekeeping that makes your eyes want to bleed. So yeah, I approve. So on that happy note, thank you for joining. I hope you enjoyed that review. If you want to support me, there are multiple ways to do it. If you look in the description of this description of this video, there are things like links to web stores that I have affiliates with, Element Games, Firestorm Games. If you follow my affiliate link, it says that you came from me, and I get commission. There are also channel memberships for additional video content or access to the channel Discord server. They're pretty cool too. Speaking of which, big shout out and a thank you to everyone who is currently a channel member. Your support is amazing. And also to my Patreons. You guys are all fab. And on that happy note, I will see you folks in the next one. Bye for now.